This month marks 50 years since the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. For a country captivated by the charismatic president, his death came as a profound shock. But before Camelot, there was another JFK, a raw 29-year-old running in his first election, and victory in the 1946 Congressional primary was far from assured.
The major impediment to Jack is that he's not a very good candidate in the beginning. He's shy, he's withdrawn. He doesn't like going up to strangers or shaking hands. He talks much too fast when he gives speeches. Can't look in his audience. His voice is too high-pitched.
He used to often read from a prepared text, and he would do it in a mechanical way. They were so afraid that he would forget his speech that his sister Eunice once sat in the front row mouthing the words like an opera prompter.
He campaigned from sunrise to midnight, house to house, pub to pub, factory gate to factory gate, until he crumpled in a heap at the Bunker Hill Parade on the eve of the primary. Some of the staff thought he was having a heart attack. Joe Kennedy told them to give him his medicine and get him ready to campaign the next day, Election Day. Jack won going away, nearly doubling the second-place finisher's vote total in the primary, and now a lock to win the general election in the heavily Democratic district in the fall. The kid was a winner after all.
Well, my next guest has been consumed by the life of John F. Kennedy for the past 2 years. Susan Bellows produced the American Experience documentary, JFK, that premieres tonight here on WGBH2. Welcome, Susan.
Thanks for having me.
It's funny, we don't hear that much about JFK from the congressional years. We knew about the Senate and, of course, his presidency. But after Joe, his brother, died, his father didn't really push him, did he? The dreams are really for the oldest son.
Joe had political ambitions for his family, for one of his sons. When Joe died, Jack was not physically, he did not appear to be somebody who would be capable to campaign. I think there's a common myth that Joe really pushed him. Jack didn't really want to. I think it was a negotiation for a while and a discussion, but Jack's health was definitely a factor in 45 that they weren't even sure he would be up to it.
Yeah, he had major back problems, which we've all read about in books and stuff, but he had it when he was really young. I mean, because that was what the issue was at the finish line there.
Right. It more profound than back problems, really. I mean, he would be, within a year of being elected to Congress, he would be diagnosed with Addison's disease. And, you know, he was ill throughout his childhood, and exactly what the problems were, it was often hard for them to determine. There was speculation that it was, you know, an inflammatory bowel disease. He was in and out of the hospital constantly and had probably started taking some kind of corticosteroid drugs that had debilitated his back and were beginning to be part of the problem. But he had a lot of things going on. And when he came out of the war, he was incredibly weak. He weighed about 140 pounds. He was super frail. And his own father didn't really think he had the stamina for it. And they also weren't sure he had the temperament or personality.
Yeah, it's funny to see him being wooden and scared, and he looks like a kid when he's doing that. But, I mean, Joe Sr. poured a lot of money into this campaign, even by today's standards.
He did. He did. He had enough money to buy an unprecedented amount of advertising for his son. But, you know, Jack made his own contribution, too, because money can only go so far. And I sometimes think that, you know, Joe Kennedy really instilled these kids with an incredible sense of competition when faced with a challenge. And I think once, you know, Jack Kennedy put his mind to it, he worked incredibly hard. I mean, everybody around him was impressed with what a hard campaigner he was and drove himself from early morning till evening. I mean, the advertising money could only go so far. He still had to go out there and kind of meet people and, you know, work the precincts.